never have rolled that way. I don't know how I feel 30 years from now, but I'm just playing, but never have rolled that way. So Destiny, stop playing with me and lying, because at this point now you're really coming for my character. Baby girl, you could have never, maybe you could have him, maybe you did, I don't know, but don't be talking about you could have had me, because no, you couldn't have. Because I personally don't roll that way. Now I know some of the folks you rock with do and have, and we're going to talk about it on TikTok Saturday. I know that. But baby girl, you ain't never known me, even all the time you were around me, them 2 years, you've never known me to rock that way. Stop playing with me. So your little confession times, you could have had, let's be clear, you could have had him and me. No, baby girl, you never could have, because I don't roll that way.
There are moments when the truth doesn't come out in anger. It comes out in exhaustion. And lately, that's exactly what fans feel when they look at Melody Shari. Not angry, not bitter, just done carrying a story that was never fully told. Because for years, viewers thought they understood what happened between Melody and Destiny Payton. They saw the tension on Love and Marriage Huntsville, heard the interviews, watched the distance grow. But what nobody realized was how much of that fallout was built on silence, the kind of silence that protects feelings, hides disappointment, and tries to avoid blowing everything up. But here's the twist: silence only works for so long. Eventually, the truth demands space, and when Melody finally began speaking more openly about what really broke that friendship, the story stopped looking like petty reality TV drama and started feeling like something deeper, something human. A story about trust, boundaries, and the painful realization that sometimes the people you defend the most are the ones who leave you feeling the most exposed. Because this feud didn't start with screaming matches or public shade. It started quietly, in conversations that didn't feel the same anymore, in energy that shifted, in loyalty that suddenly felt uncertain. And by the time the world noticed, the friendship was already cracking beneath the surface.
Whether you acknowledge it or not, it's some pain there. It really is. It's some pain for the loss of a relationship, because real talk, I was a real friend to you, and it went left. And last night was the first time I ever heard some of the things that you felt.
You didn't know that I wouldn't be okay with you still being friends with, getting off the phone with me to talk to somebody who's putting me through hell.
Listen, you say that, and that's one time.
How do you think that feels if you my homegirl?
So I've acknowledged it.
And this joker's on the phone calling your friend out.
Can I finish? See, this is the thing that makes me have an issue, because I can acknowledge your pain, but you can't acknowledge mine. I didn't deserve to become a liar. Me being a liar, you started that, and it grew legs. That stigma, that statement from somebody that was perceived to be very close to me, to know me, has followed me into other things.
You know what has followed me, Destiny?
Can I finish,
I got all her deep secrets. I know where the bones lie. I know this, and I'm thinking, what bones is she talking about?
Long before cameras, confessionals, and social media opinions, Melody's life revolved around family, ambition, and survival. She wasn't just another reality star trying to build fame. She was a wife, a mother, and a woman juggling the pressure of holding everything together while her marriage was quietly falling apart. When her personal life began unraveling, the spotlight didn't make it easier. If anything, it made every emotion louder. Every mistake felt public. Every heartbreak felt permanent. And during that time, the friendships around her meant everything. That's where Destiny entered the picture. Destiny wasn't just another castmate. At first, she felt like someone who understood struggle, someone who knew what it meant to rebuild after disappointment. Their connection didn't feel forced or strategic, it felt natural. Two women navigating life, motherhood, and business while trying to stay strong in a world that constantly tested them. They shared laughs, advice, and late-night talks about relationships and resilience. When Melody felt overwhelmed, Destiny seemed like someone she could lean on. And when Destiny had her own struggles, Melody showed up with support and encouragement.
Free. I feel light. Like, there's no heaviness. It's just light and free and fun. I am having the time of my life right now. However, Destiny wants to keep it talk. Oh, I'm not interested in having a heavy conversation right now.
For a while, their friendship looked like the kind viewers actually root for. Not messy, not fake, just two women trying to uplift each other while the world watched. But real friendships don't break all at once. They fade first. The first changes were subtle, conversations that felt shorter, plans that got canceled more often, moments where Melody started to feel like she was explaining her feelings instead of being understood. At first, she brushed it off. Life was chaotic for both of them. Stress makes people distant sometimes. She told herself not to read into it, not to overthink it. But then came the whispers. Not loud accusations, just small comments, rumors floating around that Destiny was forming connections Melody didn't expect, that she was speaking to people Melody felt were part of her personal pain, especially involving her ex-husband, Martel Holt. At first, Melody didn't want to believe it, not because she was naive, but because she valued loyalty deeply. She believed friendships should come with unspoken understanding, the kind where your friend doesn't need rules because they already know your boundaries. But here's where everything started shifting emotionally. When Melody tried to talk about how she felt, the conversations didn't bring clarity, they brought distance. Instead of reassurance, there was defensiveness. Instead of understanding, there was confusion. And suddenly, Melody felt like she was explaining why her feelings mattered instead of being heard. And that's the part viewers didn't see clearly on screen. Because what looked like small disagreements on television felt to Melody like something heavier. It wasn't about controlling who Destiny spoke to. It wasn't about jealousy or ego. It was about emotional safety.
You acknowledge it or not, it's some pain there. It really is. It's some pain for the loss of a relationship because real talk, I was a real friend to you and it went left. And last night was the first time I ever heard some of the things that you felt.
You didn't know that I wouldn't be okay with you still being friends with, getting off the phone with me to talk to somebody who's putting me through hell.
Listen, you say that and that's one time.
When someone walks through betrayal in a marriage, their sense of trust gets fragile. And when a friend seems comfortable around the very situations that caused that pain, it doesn't just sting, it reopens wounds. But here's what nobody expected. Melody didn't explode. She didn't drag Destiny publicly. She didn't go on a social media rampage. She did something quieter. She stepped back. And stepping back can look cold from the outside. Fans began noticing the shift. Interviews felt tense. Group scenes felt awkward. Online, people started picking sides, analyzing every look, every comment, every unfollow. Suddenly, the story turned into a debate about who was right and who was wrong.
Season ended, I did pull away to focus and concentrate on myself, but I didn't abandon Destiny. The first time that I heard of Destiny being upset or feeling like I wasn't a good friend was at the reunion, on a stage with other castmates in front of the world. And it's interesting to me because Destiny actually, went through a divorce and finalized it and didn't tell me that it was final. She kept that to herself. So it's interesting to me that she was expecting something from me that she didn't give.
But for Melody, the issue wasn't about winning, it was about protecting her peace. In later interviews and conversations, Melody hinted that what hurt most wasn't any single action. It was the feeling that her vulnerability hadn't been respected. She had shared her pain openly. She had trusted that the people close to her would move carefully around those wounds. And when that didn't happen, something inside her shifted permanently. Because betrayal doesn't always come from enemies. Sometimes it comes from mismatched expectations, from realizing that the loyalty you give isn't always the loyalty you receive. As their relationship cooled, the cameras kept rolling. Producers still needed scenes. Conversations still had to happen, but the warmth was gone. The laughter felt forced, and even when they tried to talk things out, it felt like they were speaking different emotional languages. Melody later suggested that she wished the conversations had happened sooner, before feelings hardened. But by the time they tried to fix things, trust had already thinned out. And once trust changes shape, it rarely goes back to what it was. For Destiny, the situation looked different. She defended herself, insisting there was no intention to hurt anyone. From her perspective, she hadn't crossed a line. She felt misunderstood, maybe even unfairly blamed. And that's what made the situation so complicated, because both women believed their feelings were valid. Both felt wronged in different ways. And when two people feel hurt at the same time, resolution becomes harder. What started as a friendship slowly became distance. Distance turned into tension. Tension turned into a public feud the world couldn't stop discussing. But behind all the drama was something quieter: grief. Melody wasn't just dealing with the end of a friendship, she was dealing with the loss of what she thought that friendship represented. She had believed they were building a support system. She had believed they were walking similar paths. And when that illusion cracked, it forced her to rethink not just that relationship, but how she chose people in her life altogether. She poured her energy into rebuilding herself, her music, her business, her children, her future. She started speaking more openly about boundaries, about self-respect, about learning not to explain your worth to people who don't see it. And slowly, viewers noticed something change. Melody didn't look weighed down anymore. She looked focused, lighter, more intentional. That doesn't mean the hurt disappeared. It just meant she stopped carrying it publicly. Because sometimes healing isn't loud. It's quiet decisions made every day, choosing not to respond, choosing not to relive the past, choosing to move forward even without closure. And maybe that's the real reason this feud hit people so deeply. It wasn't just about two reality TV personalities arguing. It was about something everyone recognizes. The moment you realize a friendship isn't what you thought it was. That realization hurts. It forces you to question your judgment, your trust, even your memories. But it also teaches you something powerful. Melody has hinted that she doesn't hate Destiny. She doesn't wish her harm. She simply understands that not everyone is meant to stay in your life forever. Some people are chapters, not lifelong characters. And that realization doesn't have to come with drama. Sometimes it just comes with distance and acceptance. Today, Melody speaks with more clarity than anger. Her tone isn't about revenge, it's about reflection. She talks about peace more than she talks about conflict, about growth more than betrayal, about lessons more than losses. And maybe that's what makes her story resonate. Because she didn't just survive public heartbreak, she learned how to redefine herself afterward. The cameras are still rolling, the show continues. Fans still debate what really happened. But for Melody, the answer isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about knowing who she is now. She's no longer the woman trying to hold friendships together at any cost. She's the woman who understands that loyalty without boundaries is just self-sacrifice. And maybe the real story isn't about why she and Destiny fell apart. Maybe it's about what she discovered when they did. That peace sometimes costs relationships. That healing sometimes looks like walking away. And that strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply refuses to stay where it isn't valued. Because at the end of the day, Melody didn't just lose a friendship, she gained clarity. And sometimes clarity is the loudest truth of all.